Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unlocked, where we talk about unlocking the potential of you, the people you work with, and the people you do life with. At the time of this recording, I'm offering all of you, yes, my lovely listeners, a free 15-minute communication coaching call. You come with some kind of communication problem, and I give you a solution. My calendar link is in the show notes, so check that out. Tanveer Naseer is an internationally acclaimed keynote speaker, award-winning leadership author. He teaches leadership to corporations all over the globe. He does things with groups. He does things with individuals. And he also consults these organizations on various aspects of leadership and culture. He's been recognized as one of the world's top thinkers in this leadership sphere. He's been recognized in Inc. magazine, top 100 leadership management experts. He's been in Forbes. He's been in Fast Company, the Globe and Mail, Economist Executive Education Navigator, CBC Radio Daybreak, Global News, Ritz-Carlton Leadership Center, just to name a few. And if you look up his TED Talk, you'll get a little glimpse about what we're going to talk about today. Actually, you might as well just do that after the show, because we're going to talk about the show right now. And you found me here. So passion, purpose, passion. What's the difference? Why are we talking about these things anyway? Why is one maybe dependent on another, maybe not dependent on another? Can one exist without the other? We're going to explore all of this idea. If you don't understand what your real purpose is, this episode is going to give you a little bit of a clearer insight into what that might be, and maybe help you figure out what it is by going through a certain process we'll talk about later in the show. So without further ado, we are going to get on with understanding your passion and your purpose. Here we come. Yes, here we are. I'm excited to talk to you. This is going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually looking forward to this.
Okay, so here's your thing. And I'm not going to try to tell you what your thing is, but one of the first initial things that's yours is that TED Talk that I was watching and on your website. And I'm going, all right, this guy's spinning something here. This whole idea of purpose and passion and this intersection of the two and the distinguishing between the both. And I think it's really interesting. So I want everybody else to hear your thoughts about this. They can watch your TED Talk. They should watch your TED Talk because it's really thought-provoking. I want to hear what your thoughts are on this idea of passion versus purpose.
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, it's one of these things that you hear a lot, and I'm glad to see actually there's been a lot of pushback against this idea of following your passion. Because, even just from a scientific perspective, look, we also even know this anecdotally. Passion sustains us only for a short period of time because we get excited about something. It's something new. It's novel. It's unfamiliar. And that taps into our sense of curiosity. We want to learn more. We want to master it. We want to gain confidence about our abilities and understanding of it. But once you gain it, you start to lose interest, right? It's no longer something mysterious. It's no longer something, I don't know about that. I don't know if I could do that. Once you've mastered it, it becomes less of something you really want to invest your time in. And the thing I always tell people too is we shouldn't be walking around this life of ours thinking we only have one thing we're passionate about. We should have multiple passions, but we really only have one true purpose. This is the thing that, you'll have a day where you have to do the most mundane task, or you're dealing with a headache, you're dealing with a problem, but you don't mind because this is what you're meant to do. This is the thing that keeps you going. And that's the thing I think that we have a problem. We look at passion. Passion is supposed to be this thing we love, right? It brings us joy. We're happy to do it. It's not supposed to be something where it's like, we got to deal with this task and so forth. That's not what passion derives. Passion taps into the pleasure centers of our mind. Purpose, it's not about pleasure. It's about feeling like we're making a difference, that we're doing something with our uniqueness, our skills, our experiences, our insights, our perspectives, our personality that helps to make things a little bit better, where we're creating value, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. And so I think that's when we understand the value of purpose. And I was just reading, in fact, a study that was just released where they found that a lot of organizations are now recognizing how critical it is to ensure that they are driving their initiatives through a purpose lens. So there is a lot of studies and facts that are backed up. I'm just glad to see, since that TED Talk went out, that we're starting to see more people appreciate and realize just how important this is.
Amen. There is, I was doing a workshop yesterday with a team of people working on their vision, mission, values things. And I always put purpose in there too. Like it's always a foundational element of that. What I call a brand foundation is understanding how you build upon those things. And so incorporating that into there, and they were having a little bit of difficulty though at the beginning thinking purpose. Like they kept going back to, well, our purpose is to solve our problems for this specific industry and to do this thing. And I'm going, not really. Like it's bigger than that. It's like, it's not this, like for this industry, this product, this thing, it's probably bigger than that. What do you say to people that start maybe not really understanding what to do? Maybe in their purpose, in their jobs, they start thinking about, well, I do IT security and my purpose is to make sure that people are safe when they surf online and all these things. I'm going, well, kinda. Like, what do you say to that?
I think the reason so many of us struggle with purpose is because at its very heart, it's aspirational, right? It's about at the end of our process, at the end of our journey. Like once we decide, okay, I'm done with this chapter in my life, whether that's that you're going to retire, whether that's you're going to take on a whole different career, it's that at the end of that journey, you've accomplished something. And I think too many times we focus on goals, right? I need to make sure we, like you said, we're solving this problem for these clients in this industry. Okay, that's got a finite shelf life because eventually you will solve that problem and they'll be happy. And then, oh, now that that problem's solved, now we have this problem. Could you help us solve that? So does that mean now your purpose has to change because now you have a different problem, or that you don't have a purpose anymore because you've solved that problem? So now your reason for being ceases to exist. And so I think this is where we struggle a lot because it is a little ethereal in a way, because you are talking about essentially why we do what we do, which can't be just that concreteness, which we do need, right? That gives us a guidance, that gives us a direction of where we're supposed to go, but it's not the aspirational of why are we here together? Why are we committing everything that we're doing? Because look, that pain point you're trying to address, it might be the key point now, but there might be a technological development that comes up that makes that issue obsolete or irrelevant. We've seen this type of dramatic change since the pandemic started, right? We had the pandemic. We had to learn how to develop and do our things in a virtual setting. Now everyone's consumed with AI. Prior to that, we were all talking about the metaverse. Remember that, folks? That was the thing. We're all like, oh, we got to figure out how we're going to operate in this metaverse. Who knows what 2024 and beyond will be the other things. But those are just different pain points that we have to define goals to. But that's not the purpose. This is the overarching thing that, irrespective of what challenges our customers, our clients face, this is the true north that remains true through and through.
So in your TED Talk, you talk about this idea of passion and then really understanding that you're doing something that maybe you're passionate about, but it was missing the mark. And then you met and found your purpose where people would be like, well, that doesn't sound that fun. And you're like, well, but it filled me. It was something that filled me. So talk about this intersection of, can we have passion without purpose? And can we have purpose without passion?
Oh, I think one of the things that we often tend to confuse is we think passion is the driving force, as opposed to thinking of passion as being the consequence or the result of us doing something. Like people will often say, like, love what you do and do what you love, right? We've all seen that phrase. I think the variant we have to understand here is that when you're doing your purpose, you're going to have great days. And though on those days, you're going to be passionate about what you do, but there are going to be days where the work you do is like, it has to be done, but you're not going to be passionate about it. I'll give you a perfect example. It's taxes. Look, we all have to do it. My company, I got to do my taxes. I got to get all my documents in order. Look, I'm not passionate about it. I'm not excited about waiting for my accountant to send me, okay, I'm going to need this form. I'm going to need that. I'm going to need this. We got to verify that, such and so forth. It's what I need to do because that's my purpose. But when I'm going off to give a workshop or I'm giving a keynote and I get these questions from the leaders, okay, I love this idea. So here's a challenge I'm having. How does that apply? And helping them connect the dots between what I'm sharing and their day-to-day reality. That's still my purpose. But that's when I get passionate. I get excited about what I'm doing. So we have to recognize that passion is not the goal. Passion is the end product of us doing our purpose-led work, because there will be days where, yes, this is what I meant to do, and I'm so excited, I'm so passionate about this and so forth. But there's other days where you're going to be doing stuff that is necessary to you fulfilling your purpose, but isn't as engaging. But that doesn't stop you from doing it because you know this is what you need to do to get to the work that's going to make you feel that sense of passion.
Okay. So purpose, are you saying that purpose leads to passion? Possibly?
Yeah, it does lead to it. But as I said before, you can have passion outside of what you do as work, and you should. Like, I mean, I'll give you a great example. So this year, I started learning how to play the drums. So what does that got to do with the work I do as a leadership keynote speaker and corporate trader? Absolutely nothing. And yet it is a newfound passion of mine. I absolutely love playing the drums. In fact, my family's been bugging me saying, you got to find a band because you're starting to get really good. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. I'm doing this purely for myself. And they say, yeah, but you should see your face. You got such joy and elation when you're just playing the drums and you're accompanying it to one of your favorite rock bands from the 80s or whatever. And I'm like, yes, because I'm doing it for my own sense of passion, right? But that doesn't mean it has to be something I have to take and then do something with it. It could be just purely for myself. And that's one thing I'm passionate about, right? But it's not connected to my purpose. So we have to make sure we disentangle the two, that you can have multiple passions, but then you have a purpose. And in that purpose, you will find moments of passion and you will find moments of joy. You'll find moments of elation. You're also going to find moments of hardship, moments of difficulty, but you're going to go through those because this is what your purpose is all about. So I think we shouldn't think that, okay, if I follow my purpose, then I will find passion in my life. No, purpose will give you passion, because you will find that what you're doing as a purpose, you'll find that you'll get passionate about it. But I think we also have to understand that you should find passion outside of your purpose, because that's what gives us the kaleidoscope of colors that makes up our lives. And the things that we need to just give us a sense of joy outside of our work and our ability to do stuff that's just uniquely for us. And it doesn't necessarily have to create value for others.
Okay. Do you believe in purpose statements?
I'm going to say not necessarily, just because I don't have one. I mean, if someone were to ask me what my purpose, I do say in my TED Talk what I say is my purpose. And the funny thing, too, about that TED Talk was it got inspired by a question I got asked by a leader after one of my leadership keynotes. And it was because the question that they asked, I had never had reflected on it. So I don't think you need a purpose statement. I think you just need to have clarity about what is your purpose. That you can, if someone were to ask you, you could clearly state it. One of the things I always tell my kids when they were younger was to show you understand something, make sure you can explain it to a 5-year-old. And they know that from example, because when they were younger, they'd have a problem with their homework. I'd always ask them to explain it to me. And at first they would say, yeah, but Papa, you understand this. You're an adult. They said, no. But I just need to understand because a teacher might have said something to you differently or something. So just explain to me what you understood this problem. And as they go through the process of explaining it to me, they're explaining it to themselves. And invariably they get that moment of clarity where I understand what I need to do. That's what you need to do. So I wouldn't say, okay, I have to have a formal purpose statement, put it on parchment paper and frame it on the wall. I think
Mm-hmm.
you just need to have that ability to be able to explain your purpose to someone else, where when you say it out loud, it just rings true to you. As like, yes, that's really what I'm driven to do with my life.
So for people that of course everybody's gonna go watch the TED Talk, but what is it? What's your purpose? What drives you? What's the thing?
So the interesting thing here, this is what will help set it up. So my background is not, I don't come from the corporate world. I'm actually educationally trained as a pathologist. I graduated from McGill University's medical department as a pathologist. And my driving force was to help people improve their health. A pathologist focuses on disease management. So this was, how do we help people improve their care? From there, I ended up working again in the hospital, but in the IVF clinic. So there I was working to help people deal with infertility issues. So here I was trying to help people live the lives they wanted to live. They wanted to become parents. They wanted to start that unique chapter in their lives. Now, as a leadership, I'm helping leaders to, how do I become better? How do I become that better leader that brings out the best of my employees, that makes them feel empowered to deliver their best because they care about the work they do, because they see that I care about them and their ability to succeed under my care. So in each of these cases, you can see that the underlying thread is, I want to help people improve their lives. I want them to help them do better in what they're doing. So that's my purpose. And the purpose is now being articulated in, how do I help leaders create a better workplace environment that allows people to truly shine and do their best work.
Okay. That works. I approve. Well done. You need my
But
approval.
it's not on parchment paper, Scott. I'll tell you that.
I don't know. That just says that you're not ready to commit, is what it says. As soon as you put it on parchment paper, Tanveer, you are committed to that
Well,
purpose.
is it parchment paper, or is it more if I were to put it in granite? If I should put it in granite.
Parchment paper is good. You're fine. You're fine with the parchment paper. All right. Granite's too expensive, so don't worry about that. No, that's awesome. I really value that. I think that there's you seem more like a loosey goosey kind of like, do the feeling thing. It's the feeling thing. We don't need to like emblazon it on our wall and doing all this other stuff. It's like, you want to do that? That's cool. But it's something that you can communicate. That when I love what you said, when you say it, it lights you up. When you say it, it's like, yeah, that's it. Like, that's my thing, and it's that feeling that we all get. And then when you see it happen, it just confirms that it's that thing. Yeah. So
and
I think
the
that's
thing
awesome.
too that people should see is, once you communicate that, it's like a puzzle piece falls into place, a critical puzzle piece, and they go, oh, now it makes sense why you did that, why you were invested in trying to do this or trying to help with that and so forth. I understand you now. I see what drives you. I can understand, because it was curious to me. You seem like maybe you were a really generous guy, or you were like really invested in this process. I was trying to figure out what was your motivation. I understand it now, because the actions you're doing make sense to me now, because I see it within that frame you're now providing me. And so I think this is where people also can help understand that when you define your purpose, you see it reflected in your actions, and people better understand where you're coming from, right? They can see why you're now driven to do certain things, why you care about certain things, and why you're wanting to learn more about these things, because they clearly see it's tied to that purpose. It's not about that passion, right? Because you can get excited. Like right now, I think a lot of people are like really fascinated by ChatGPT. Will we be fascinated by ChatGPT in 2 years? Probably not. Not because it won't be there, but because our passion and our fascination will have waned for a lot of us, and we'll find some other shiny object to get obsessed over and so forth, and try to say, okay, I really am invested. I want to read books and read articles and attend webinars because I'm really fascinated to learn more. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, nothing wrong with that, because that's a passion, right? And we're entitled to have those. But we should really also understand what is our unique purpose, that it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, what year we're in. this is really what drives our actions and our behaviors.
What do you think about, so Simon Sinek's work, familiar with Simon, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of find your why and the whole why idea, the golden circle, things like that. Do you tie that into purpose? Are they synonymous, or do they work together? What do you think about that?
I think they work together because I think Simon's golden circle, it helps you elucidate what your purpose is. I mean, look, after I gave my TED talk, I remember at the cocktail party afterwards, I had one person come up to me saying, I was so fascinated by your story. And I love the ideas you shared about how do we find our purpose. And I was thinking about that, and I don't really think I have a purpose. And she said, it's a little bit discouraging. And I said to her, I started smiling, look, I don't know you, but I can tell you 100% you have a purpose. So would you mind if I ask you a series of questions? And I started asking her a series of questions, and her husband was standing next to her. And I was going through these series of questions, asking about her work experiences, asking about a project that she really got excited about. And she was really really thinking about it. Like, she'd be like, oh my God, I just had an idea. I just got to scribble this down. I don't want to lose this thought. I want to bring it up in my meeting on Monday. And, she was really engaged, and she was taking the initiative when she saw a potential problem and so forth. Then I'd ask her about another similar job experience, and was it as enjoyable? No. How come? And so forth. And as I started asking these questions, I was glancing at her husband. Her husband first was looking at me like, okay, I'm not sure where you're going with this. About 3/4 of the conversation through, the guy, he was beaming. And I think, at one point, I kind of nodded at him, right? It says, you see it, right? And so after she finished her whole giving me, answer my questions about her work history, I said to her, so remind me again, you said you don't really know what your purpose is, right? She goes, yeah, I wish I knew. Her husband started laughing. And I said to her, well, I hate to say it to you, but your husband and I both think we heard very clearly what your passion is, what your purpose is. And I elucidated her. Let me ask you this. If I were to have met somebody who said they have looking for someone who could do this type of a job, here is the requirements, and this is what's needed in the role. And I described it, and her face was lighting up. And she said, oh my God, that's like my dream job. That's what I'd love to do. And I said, remember, I don't know you. How could I know what your dream job is? And she looks at me like, that's true. And then her husband just starts saying, it's because of what he asked you. I said, you have the answers inside you. I just pulled them out. And when you reflect on them, which obviously your husband was able to do because he's watching as an outside observer, you then can identify what your purpose is. So I do think Simon's exercise of starting with that why do we do what we do? That's a critical point we all have to start. But I don't think many of us do start there. We all start with the what, right? What is it, the problem we need to solve? What's going to help us increase market share? What's going to help us, to beat our competition? What's going to help us overcome any uncertainties about the economy going forward? And that's not the place we have to start. We have to start with why. Why do we do what we do? Why does this matter? Why do I care? Why does this make me want to wake up every morning, even on the darkest day, on the day I'm most tired and exhausted, and want to pull up and deliver my very best? I think when we start from there, we can better get a clarity of what our purpose is, which, as I said, I could tell you from conversations that people we all have. We just haven't given ourselves the permission to take a moment and to think and reflect on our past work experiences to really identify those moments where we were able to do purpose-led work, where we truly felt like we were delivering our very best.
Okay, you tease me a little. I don't want you to give away your secret sauce here, Tanveer. What is one of those questions that you use to dig out somebody's purpose? Because people are on this call and they're going, I don't have a purpose. I don't know what my purpose is. They're listening to the show and they're going, I don't know. What do I do? And everybody right now, I'm just going to tell you, Tanveer is going to help you unlock that purpose just a little bit. Is that okay?
Okay, absolutely. So first off, let's start with a mindset shift. And on this mindset shift, I want us to change how we understand what our strengths are. This is something I share in some of my leadership keynotes. When I talk to leaders about understanding what your employees' strengths are. What I want you to understand is your strengths aren't the things you're good at. Your strengths aren't the things your boss comes to you and says, I really need you on this project. I really need this assignment because the last few times I give it to you, you really helped deliver the results. You really helped us. So it's not the things that people come to you and give you praise for and show appreciation for. That's not what your strengths are. Your strengths are what strengthens you. Okay. These are the things that it just lights you up. When you hear there's this assignment and it requires this kind of work, you're front and center, ready to volunteer. I'll take on that assignment. I'll take on that project. I want to be a part of this team, right? You don't have it assigned to you. And you might be hoping, oh, I hope I get assigned to that project, right? That's something that's telling you this is a strength of yours because it's something that makes you stand up and show up. Okay, so once you've identified that strength, what you need to do is reflect back on your past work experiences and ask yourself, what were those projects? What were those assignments? And what were those teams that I worked on where I was so driven to deliver my best? Not because I liked my boss and I really wanted to get their appreciation. I wanted to get those words of praise. I wanted to get a positive performance review at the end of the year, what have you. No, I did this because I knew if I showed up and delivered on that project, I could deliver the best product, the best result for that team, for that assignment, for that project. You know, intrinsically, this is something that if I were to be given it, and independent of any biases I might have about myself, about my workplace environment, I just know if all things equal, I was given this, I would give a result that would really help the company shine. What is that type of work? Now, once you identify that work, what was it about that work that made you feel like, oh my God, I want to deliver my best? What is it about the work? It's not the what, it's the why, right? Why did this matter so much? And so go back 2 steps and say, well, okay, the end result leads to what, right? It helped people accomplish this. It helped the company do that. Okay, and then why did that matter? Right? So delve deeper. And then once you say, oh, well, it helped improve, it made things easier for people. I knew I was helping people have one less stressor in their lives, whatever it is. That's where you then identify, oh, so here's my purpose. I'm someone who's driven to help people do this. I'm someone who's driven to ensure safety protocols are that, whatever it is. But you go down to that why, you'll unlock what it is that's your true purpose.
That's good. That storytelling is really important. I have found as well as you get people talking and telling stories about when did that impact you and how did it impact other? And there's that framework of contribution impact. So what was the contribution you made? What was the impact it created? And having people tell those stories and seeing how they light up or when they light up, like that guy was saying with his wife, is just sitting there going, there it is. And you're going, there it is, and y'all are kind of nodding to each other. It's like, yeah, we see it. We see it. So telling them to somebody else, because you may not be able to see it, but having them tell it to somebody else and say, hey, partner up. You tell each other stories of when that impact happened and then go, oh, there it is. Yeah, you see it. So I think that's really critical. And I love that you brought the strengths thing in because that is something you hit on for like 10 seconds in your TED talk. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get him to talk about that. So, so glad you hit on that because I think that's really interesting to think about. It's like, well, I'm really good at spreadsheets. Like that's totally a strength of mine. And you're going, okay, well, maybe, but like, I think there's more to it, than you just being good at spreadsheets, like what strengthens you in that process. So, really cool. Really, really good stuff. How does all of this work intertwine with, so your book, your podcast, the things that you're actively working on with your clients, whether you're coaching, individuals or teams or speaking? I mean, how do you use this passion purpose work in your overall body of work?
Well, I think where it shows up is in how my work guides people. My focus is always on how do I help people do better. So I remember one of my favorite things I like to do is at the end of even in the workshops, but even especially my keynotes, I like to have a question and answer period where I get people to share with me what are the things that they resonated with them from my work, from my talk, from my workshop, and what are the unique pain points that they say, oh, I could see this helping me with this problem. How do I apply this? Right. So it's no longer just like this nice, oh, I like this idea, but I'm not going to do anything with it. No, let's put it into practice today. And so for me, a lot of times it's enjoyable to see how often leaders will say, okay, how do I, do this? And I say, remember how I shared this idea? So here's your problem. So notice how the problem, you might be thinking it's this, but if we pivot towards this perspective, you'll notice from your employee's perspective, it's really about this. And they start going, I see it. But sometimes it's a rare time where I'll have a leader and I'll ask him a question. Did this answer your question? And they go, not really. I said, okay, well, let's dive deeper, right? And they dive deeper. They say, okay, well, give me a bit more context to the issue. They start giving me more context. Now I can see they focused on this thing, but by getting them to delve deeper, I'm starting to appreciate here's some of the issues, especially because the answer I gave, they realize that's what I'm focusing on. And I'm realizing the answer you're giving me is leading me not to really resolve the problem. So now I got to dig deeper. And here's really what I'm noticing is probably the bigger issue. When they do that, I give them another answer. And then suddenly they go, I see the smile break out. And I'm like, let me guess, that solves the problem. They're like, oh my God, I think you helped me. I'm writing notes because this is exactly, I'm elated because I'm thinking, oh my God, this conflict I'm having at work, I now understand why I'm having it and what I need to do differently to not just resolve it, but to make sure that we can collaborate better as colleagues, as different team leaders. So this is fantastic. And when you get that, you get the feedback that your purpose of helping people do better is giving you that drive of, okay, I am adding value. So I think this is where purpose comes in, because I've had work where someone will come and ask me, could you speak about this? And I'll say, no, I can't. And it's because it's not tied to my purpose. And they say, yeah, but you seem so good. You seem to be capable. I said, oh, yeah, I am. And there's a bit of passion I have involved in doing that. But is it my purpose? No, it's not. And I will redirect them. But there's someone I know who I'd love to put you in touch with because they could help you a lot with this. And they're like, really? That's great. Guess what, folks? That's my purpose. I want to help people do better. I'm helping a colleague of mine who I really like land work, but at the same time, this potential client has an issue and I'm helping them solve it. When you have that clarity what your purpose is, it becomes easier for you to know where to put your efforts. So you're not just relying on that outside feedback. Oh, you seem so good at this. And then you go in and do that work and you just feel like, oh, I just wasted their time. I just didn't deliver. And you start to question your competencies because you're not delivering value. When you have that clarity of purpose, it makes it easier for you to know who are the clients you can help, which organizations, when they invite you to come speak, you're going to give them something that's going to add a value. And I mean, like, the best feedback I always get is when the leaders who invited me say, we thought this was our problem, but after speaking with you and having you listen, we now realize that this was the problem. We're so grateful you focused on that as opposed to what we thought you should focus on, because now I could see the room is buzzing. Everyone's like, finally, someone's addressing the problem we've all been seeing that no one wanted to admit was the problem. And so that's what purpose does. It gives you that clarity. So you always know whether it's a one-on-one executive coaching or whether it's a keynote you're giving in front of hundreds or thousands of leaders, you're going to be delivering value because you know you're providing something that's connected to your purpose. It's why you do what you do. And it's that strength piece that we brought up before. It strengthens you. And honestly, Scott, the thing I love too is how many people will tell me, Tanveer, my God, I love your energy that you give. Well, of course, there's that energy, right? Especially because it's not my tax stuff that's related to my purpose. It's the part of my purpose that gives me joy. So they see that passion, that outward end result of how, my God, you're so passionate about this. Absolutely, I'm passionate about this because it's my purpose. It's why I do what I do.
Beautiful. Leadership Vertigo is your book. Give us a quick synopsis on that. If anybody's interested in that, they want to find out more how to get that. How do they do that?
Sure. So leadership vertigo refers to this phenomenon all leaders experience, which is a gap that exists between how we view our leadership and how our employees experience our leadership. And I think a great example we could see of it is the current debate over the future of work, where so many CEOs are insistent, okay, we have to have everyone back in the office because this is what's going to ensure our culture, or we're going to improve our collaborative abilities, or we're going to ensure our creativity or innovation. It seems like the excuse changes every couple of weeks. And then you talk to the employees and there's like, no, what we need from our bosses, our CEOs, is to understand we need more flexibility in our lives because we have different demands and we want to be able to deliver our best at work, but at the same time also be able to address our needs and wants in our personal lives as well. And so that disconnect where leaders are so convinced, no, I know employees are going to be happy to be back at work. They're going to be happy to being around one another and talking and such and so forth, shows a disconnect that they're not really understanding the reality of their employees and the needs of their employees. So this is a leadership vertigo moment of what you view as being what your employees need from you is not at all the experience your employees having and what they really need from you. So that's what leadership vertigo is about. You can get it at any major book reseller out there. It's also available as an audiobook as well. If you want, you can also find links to that on my website, tanveernaseer.com.
Very cool. And your podcast, let's not forget about that. Leadership Biz Cafe.
Yep. I've been doing that podcast for 12 years now. It's 10 plus years anyways. And I put out episodes every 2 weeks on Wednesday. It's going really strong. I love doing this podcast. I love the opportunity to meet with leaders and experts and have these fascinating conversations on leadership and how we improve our leadership craft. I also share my own series called Leadership Espresso Shot, which are these little 10 minutes or less bite-sized episodes that give you a strong dose, an espresso dose of leadership insight on how to improve your leadership craft. And you can find that on any platform where you listen to podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. We're on pretty much every platform out there.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love your format of sprinkling in the guests and then these like short shots. Like it's really smart. I mean, that's how we were talking earlier. That's how I like to digest information. That's how I put out information, and that's how my new book's formatted. And yeah, it's just those short little, punches. I love it. So well done on that. That's really cool. So I love your brain. I love how you're thinking about this stuff. I love how you're challenging the concepts and bringing the new light to these ideas that people talk about all the time, especially like passion, purpose. And it's like, well, what do those things really mean? And your perspective on them is, I think it's enlightened me a bit. And I think I hope it's done that for others as well. So I hope people checks out your website. You've got all these resources on there. So if you forget where to get all this stuff, just go to the website and you'll find it. So very cool. Tanveer, it's so cool meeting you. Thanks for everything you're doing. Continue to help people do better and spread your stuff throughout the world because it's valuable.
Thanks, Scott. I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for having me on your show. I really enjoyed this.
One of the first initial thoughts I had in this, and one of the first initial principles we talked about, was this passion is more short term. It's a thing. It's a thing of the moment. It's the thing that gets us motivated and drives, and we're excited. But then it might die down. Right? It might die down a little bit. It doesn't mean that we're not fulfilling our purpose anymore. It just means that our passion may have, diminished a little, slowed down, and we've kind of just reset a bit. That's okay. Passion's about that curiosity, that mysteriousness, that thing that makes us go after the unknown, and that gives us that excitement of the moment, that dopamine hit. But purpose, when you say it, you know it. When you say it, you feel it. And you want to just go, oh yeah, that's that thing. That's that thing. You can find your passion outside of purpose. You can find your purpose outside of passion. They're not necessarily dependent on each other, but as we talked about in here, that when we're performing our purpose, passion will probably follow. And it probably should, in some way, shape, or form, follow that idea. If we're doing those things, then we're going to experience that passion at times. Strengths, not things that I'm good at, but what strengthens me? What causes me to want to stand up, volunteer, and get engaged in that thing? That was really, really cool too. He talks about that in his TED Talk, so go back, listen to that as well. And why does all this matter? Why does this thing I'm doing matter so much? That is a really interesting thing to look at as you're thinking about your purpose. What is my purpose? Think about the why. Go back to, why does this matter so much? Why does this matter to me? Why does this matter to us? What's the impact we're creating? And you will find some gold hidden in them there hills. So thanks for being on the show. I was so grateful that Tanveer was able to share these insights with me and us, and I hope that we're all better for it. If you want to find out more information about me or check out the show notes where there's going to be more information and links to the things referenced in this episode, visit skotwaldron.com. And lastly, I'm asking for a little bit of love, just a little bit. So please take a moment, follow, rate the show. The algorithms like that. It helps me get the word out. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And until next time, stay unlocked.